Hey everyone, this is going to be a Rhino tutorial on adding and subtracting and also scaling shapes. So in the last video I showed you how to draw this little basic house here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to put a little door on the side, a couple windows, and I'm also going to show you how to scale the roof so that it's actually got a little bit of an overhang, because at the moment it's right down joining onto the edge of the box. So I'm going to click my roof, because this is the bit that I'm going to do first, and I'm going to scale this roof up a little bit. So underneath, so that I showed you these tools last time, underneath you've got a whole lot of other tools that do a bunch of different stuff. A commonly used one though is the scale. If you click and hold this, you've got a bunch of different ways of scaling something. So scaling in 3 dimensions does what it says it does. It scales it in all 3 of the viewports, top, front and right. Scaling in 2 dimensions will scale it just, say you're working in the top view, it will just scale the top of it, and scaling in 1 dimension will stretch it like a line. So I'll show you the difference between those 3. So scale 3D, if I click scale 3D and the base point, I want to scale it from the midpoint of the line that I drew in this, which I currently can't see. So I'm going to change this to ghosted, and now I can see that line that I've drawn in the middle there, which will then allow me to snap to that line. So I'm going to click. Now I can either click to do the scale size, or I can put a number in here. So say I wanted to scale it 10 times bigger than what it is now. I have now got a massive roof, which is not that useful. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to scale it again. So I'm going to click the midpoint. Now if I hold down shift, you'll see that the line snaps to 0 degrees or 90 degrees. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep holding down shift. I'm going to click once, and then I'm going to drag my mouse out a little bit, and you can see that the roof is growing by however much size I move my mouse. Okay, so I can scale it in that direction. Okay, if I wanted to scale something in 2 dimensions, you'll see. So I'll click here, and I'll click here. So what this is doing is scaling the roof. So you can see in the front view it's scaling it. It looks like it's scaling it normally, but if you look in the top view, it's not scaling it in that direction, so it's keeping it the same width. Similarly, if I scale with 1 dimension, so this would be just to change the height of the roof. I could hold down shift, click, and then click, and you can see that on the top view, the box isn't actually changing at all in the top view. It's only changing in the front and right view, which would just change the height of the roof, so I could make myself a very skinny roof. Okay. Put that back down there. So I've got a roof and it's hanging out a little bit over the edge of my box. So that scale, sometimes you will use all 3 of those scales. Generally the most common one is clicking on it once and you're getting a 3D object to scale. Okay, so next step is drawing a door on the front of this house. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to draw a box. Should I draw a box? Yeah, I'll draw a box. I'm going to click the midpoint. Then I'm going to click how far I want it to go. And then I'm going to come to the right hand view here and I'm going to put it that far into my house. Okay, so if I change this to shaded, you can see that the door that I've just drawn there is going into the other box. Now, when I currently rotate around here, it's rotating around the whole house. A useful thing to do if you're working just on a certain part of your house, if you hit zoom and then we're going to do selected S. Now when I rotate this view round, it's just rotating around the door, so it allows me just to see the door that I'm working on. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this shape here away from this shape here. So next to the box tool there is a bunch of solid editing tools, and there's a lot of them. The one that we're going to use first is this one, Boolean difference, and you'll see it's got a blue circle and then a transparent circle beside it. So this is one taking away another. So the surfaces or polysurface that I want to take from. So the ones I want to take from are that one, done, and the ones I want to take with is this one. I can either hit done or I can hit enter. Okay, my door now goes into my house. Right, so I'm going to do the same for a couple of windows. So I am going, if I click here, I don't quite know where I'm clicking on my house, so I need to snap it to the side. So I'm going to snap it to the side, draw my window, and then draw the depth over here on the right hand side. Now obviously I don't want my window right on the corner of the house, so I can either click and drag and it will move, and you'll see at the moment it's doing all this bouncing around, which is sometimes why it's worth holding down that Alt button that I showed you last time, and then you can drag it without worrying about it bouncing and snapping to things you don't want it to snap to. So I could put that window there. Now say I wanted a window, let's move this. Say I wanted another window in the same place over here. I don't need to draw another window. I can mirror this object to go over here. So when you're working in Rhino, you only ever draw one side of anything that you're working on. The mirror tool is underneath this tool, I believe, here. Or you can, as you start to learn the commands, you can just type in mirror and it's guessing what it wants you to do. Press enter. I should deselect this first. So the first thing it asks me to do is select the object to mirror, which is this window here. Done. And then it asks me to create a mirror plane. So what I'm effectively doing is drawing a mirror. So depending on where I draw that will depend on where this ends up. So what I want to do is I want to click on the middle of this somewhere, hold down shift, and then it will end up on the other side. What I don't want to do is if I mirror it through here, you can see it's now moved down there. Okay. If I did want to do that, say I had a two-story house, perhaps I would need to move these up a little bit higher. If I wanted to put another pair of windows down here, I could mirror from the midpoint of here, hold down shift. Oh my gosh, I have some very low windows. So these windows look like they probably need to be moved up a bit. So I clicked one, I'm holding down shift to click the other one, and then I can drag these. I'm going to hold down Alt so they don't snap stuff, and I'm also going to hold down shift. So I'm holding down Alt and shift, and I'm going to put my windows there. Okay. I'm now going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes away from this box. So go back over to here to the difference tool. From, I want to take from this one, done, and I want to take with that one, that one, that one, and that one, done. So now I have 4 windows going into my house. It is possible to then change these to be on, so they look different, so they can be different colors. If you want to start having a go at that, what you can do is you can select an object and you can move it to a different layer. So this is your layers palette over here. You can move the objects to that layer. Okay, that will move the whole thing to that layer. Or another thing that you could do now, now that we've got our shape, we could do what's called explode this shape. So we could click this object, we could explode it, which is this one. And so instead of being a joined together solid object, which it was, it is now a bunch of individual objects. So I could select my 4 windows, and I could right click on this layer and I could move the objects to this layer. Okay, so now I have my windows on a different layer. Sometimes it is useful to explode things, sometimes it is not useful to explode things. If you are aiming to 3D print this object, it is not going to be helpful to explode things because the 3D printer will no longer be able to print this as a box, because it is individual surfaces. So you're only going to be exploding stuff right at the end when you are trying to make this look pretty and render it up nicely, which we will be doing not this time, in a few tutorials time. Cool. Thanks everyone. See ya.